Burglars of Reddit. What are the best ways to keep you out of my house? Get an alarm system and use the sticker/sign saying that you have one. I'm more likely to skip a house with an alarm system. Don't make it easy for me. Lock your doors, close your windows, and most importantly, lock them. 95% of the houses I've been in, I just walk through the door or climb through an open window. Don't leave tools laying around. That's going to make my job easier. Ladders, saws, drills, sledgehammers, putty knives, etc. All these make it easier for me to get in your house. Contrary to popular belief, most dogs aren't a problem. Unless they've been trained to be guard dogs, it doesn't take much to make one friendly. Don't advertise. If you just bought an expensive piece of electronic equipment, jewelry, tools, etc., don't brag about it in public. Don't leave the trash in sight. And don't post about it on Facebook. Use security hedges under your windows. If your house has rose bushes and your neighbors don't, I'm more likely to try their house first. If it's irreplaceable, don't leave it out in the open. Get a safe for stuff like that, and make sure you bolt it down. I'll happily take a safe with me and open it later. Don't live in a nice neighborhood. When I'm looking to steal, I don't go to the poor neighborhoods. I go to the subdivisions and wealthier areas. Don't assume I'm going to wait until it's too dark to rob a place. Between 9 a.m. and noon are the best times to hit. Most everyone has gone to work. Those who aren't are running errands or sleeping. That being said, invest in motion sensor lights. If someone is outside your house at night, this can help. Finally, be suspicious and alert. Is there someone new walking your neighborhood that doesn't live there? Is someone getting the yard care/pest control/deliveries outside of what's normal for them? Does the same car keep cruising around at different times? You see, I'll study a neighborhood before I strike. Sometimes I'll spend upwards of a month. I'll note times people leave and arrive. I'll note when/if cops patrol certain areas and when. I'll pay attention to delivery times, mailman times, and various other service people to see when they arrive, what they do, how they're dressed, etc. I'll watch to see who leaves windows open, who forgets to lock their doors, and so on. It doesn't take much time to make a hit and get away either. On average, I spend 8 minutes in a house, rarely more than that. Story 2. Deleted. Covered a lot. He's probably legit. I don't steal anymore at all, but I used to a lot. Alarm signs are the biggest deterrent. I'm going in through the front door. I'm not going to check windows or creep into your backyard or any sketchy crap like that. The neighbors calling the cops is really the only danger. I dress nicely in a collared shirt and slacks. I'm white and clean cut, fairly good looking, a bit like a police officer. Your dog is useless. There's too much on the line to worry about Fido. I've never been attacked by a dog, but if I was... I look for houses with the least viewpoints from the neighbors. Having an open front porch is your best defense. Park in your garage. Parking in front of the garage is a telltale that there's likely no other car moving in and out of the garage, and the driver is likely at work. I can tell because of the discoloration. Pick up your newspapers. Stop your mail and newspaper if you're leaving town. If I pop the door and an alarm goes off, I'll probably leave. Make friends with your neighbors so they know who should be at your house. Going in and someone being home is terrifying. I don't want to hurt anybody, and I certainly don't want to get shot. Also, the risk for getting caught just went from 3 years to 25. I'll run screaming from the frailest old lady. Again, this isn't me anymore, but perhaps it gives you some insight. Stay safe. Edit. I see some guys in here saying to have a robust door. I've never been stopped by a door. It's very easy to kick a door, and I would carry a flat bar. A solid core door with heavily reinforced framing might work. Spin big if you want this to be a viable defense. Edit 2. No, I wouldn't want to hurt your dog, but yes, I would have if it attacked me. If you have an 8-foot-tall fire-breathing dog, then yes, it's probably a good deterrent. Make sure your dog's fire-breathing is on point, because none of us want your dog to get hurt. Yes, if you put a lot of effort into security, it will deter thieves. This comment blew up. Wow. Thank you all for the positive comments. F you guys with the negative ones. It doesn't do anyone any good. I'm sure you're very tough. You probably shouldn't threaten my daughter. Story 3. A daughter. And goals. When I was young, I never had anything. My parents were addicts and I was pretty poor. I didn't have any familiarity with what life could be, and the world consisted of people who had stuff and people like me who never had anything. There was no example of someone living well enough through hard work and honesty. My dad worked very hard and we scraped by, but it was difficult to see any value in such a life. Drug dealers and convicts seemed to live a fun and exciting life, so that was the obvious route to street fame and some kind of a nice life. I was very good at it. The world had a clear delineation of wolves and sheep, those in the system working hard and never getting anywhere, and those like me taking what they wanted. I had platinum jewelry, cars, women, street cred, and all that crap. I also had increasingly long jail sentences, and my stuff had a habit of disappearing. I ended up on parole, and in an attempt to run my time out, I went to a drug program and through there back to school. Turns out I'm pretty smart and I have a knack for math. I took a career development class and the road to success was laid out for me. Do X, Y, Z, and you can get a job making good money that doesn't disappear. No more prison. So now I have short, mid, and long-term goals. It feels great to be succeeding in things that I want to do. Ultimately, I'm on a path to expose my kid to the valuable aspects of life and set her on a path to success. Story 4. I spent a year and a half in prison after being convicted of multiple residential burglaries. I was caught after a mailman called 911 after seeing me go through a window. I had a pretty good run of burglaries from 2007 to 2008 and haven't done any in 7 years. So technology and times have changed since my spree. Here's how I picked my houses. 1. I would generally only go in the daytime during the week. The idea was for the adults to be at work and the kids at school. 2. I would try to find a corner house because it would have at least one side with no neighbors. 3. I went in middle-class neighborhoods close to a community college. I live in a large U.S. city and needed an excuse to be in my late 20s walking around with a backpack. I would stand out too much in wealthy neighborhoods, and poor neighborhoods often have bars on windows because they expect to be robbed. Middle-class people seem to be careless. I often went in through an unlocked back door. Interestingly enough, I never went through a front door. I would always go to the back or side because any fences would provide coverage. 4. People think a large dog would be a good deterrent, but I generally avoided those annoying small yapping dogs that never shut up. 5. I often went through a bedroom window, whether it was unlocked or not. I'm committing a major felony. I didn't care about a broken window. 6. I usually went straight to the master bedroom because that's where the good stuff was. Things a homeowner can do besides armed guards around the clock. 1. Get a dog that doesn't like strangers. I don't care if it's a big or small or threatening or friendly. As soon as one dog barks, the whole neighborhood starts barking and announcing a burglar's presence. 2. Cameras, inside and out. I knew a guy who was caught because he walked by someone's webcam inside their house and ended up on the views. Make the cameras visible. If I see a camera, I'm not just moving on to the next house, but I'm going several streets away. 3. Lock back fence and restrict access to backyard. That's generally where I broke into the house from. 4. Beware of dog, and security alarm signs and stickers are completely worthless. I once broke into a house through a doggy door. There was no dog home. 5. Try not to have any stools or anything in the backyard. They make climbing through the windows easier. So we're only 4 stories in here and we've already got a ton of conflicting information. We've had one guy say dogs do absolutely nothing, they're worthless, they're easy to make friendly, and then another says, get a dog that doesn't like strangers because dogs do deter people. We have one guy say put up beware of dog signs and that we've got security systems set up in our house. And then we've got another guy saying, yeah, those signs don't deter me at all. So I think that it really depends more so on location, where you live, more than anything else. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting seeing how the mind of a thief works. Let's move on. Story 5. It's funny. I was just going to post a life pro tip about this subject. Life pro tip. If you're a burglar, talk to children. They'll tell you anything. Example. The other day we were at the store with my 5-year-old. A random woman smiles at her and says, "Hi, aren't you pretty? What's your name?" My daughter then proceeds to rattle off her full name, first, middle, and last, her mommy and daddy's name, what city she lives in, the fact that her older sister just got a new TV and a Nintendo Wii U, and that she's so excited because we're going to be taking a trip to visit our family in California next month. All in the space of about 30 seconds. She just had so much crap she was excited to share with her new friend, she couldn't stop talking. Story 6. I was once visiting a female friend of mine who lived in a bit of a crappy neighborhood. At the time, I was working construction and swung by after work. I got to the house and took my size 12 work boots off and left them on the front porch. I tend to carry a pair of flip-flops in my bag and changed into those when we hit a patio for some sunshine beers. I ended up forgetting my boots at her place and was in no rush to get them back as I had another pair. Now, I do not know how this is true, but she swears that having a pair of big work boots right by her front door made her safer. I had pretty much forgotten about them as they were on their way out, but she left them right where they were. She had less craziness happen in her front yard, less strangers knocking on her door, and she was not broken into again at that place. Of course, it could have been the smell. Story 7. To the legitimate burglars in here, I feel like I need to tell you something. My brother and one of my friends, completely independently of each other, have almost a fantasy about shooting a burglar. They both have this romantic visualization of them being the good guy hero and burglars being the perfect example of a bad guy that's coming into their house to kill their family. They daydream and plan for this scenario. My brother even has his alarm siren turned off when he's home, so it only rings his phone and won't scare an intruder away, like he's hunting or something. I just want you to know that these people are out there. If you break into their house, you're getting shot by a guy with a raging hero boner. And I frequently hear the same thing. Shoot to kill, because if you don't, they'll sue you. It's not worth it. Stay out of other people's houses. Story 8. This article from the Center of Problem-Oriented Policing is not written by a burglar, but it answers the question quite thoroughly. Burglars select targets based on a number of key factors, including the following: familiarity with the target and convenience of the location, occupancy, visibility or surveillability, accessibility, vulnerability or security, potential rewards. This is followed by considerable detail about each category. Edit. For those who may be too busy to click the link, here are the sub-bullets for each of those categories. They further elaborate more on each in the article. Familiarity with the target and convenience of the location. Houses near a ready pool of offenders. Houses near major thoroughfares. Houses on the outskirts of neighborhoods. Houses previously burglarized. Houses near burglarized houses. Occupancy. Houses vacant for extended periods. Houses routinely vacant during the day. Houses of new residents. Houses without dogs. Visibility or surveillability. Houses with cover. Houses that are secluded. Houses with poor lighting. Houses on corners. Houses with concealing architectural designs. Accessibility. Houses easily entered through side or back doors and windows. Houses next to alleys. Vulnerability or security. Houses with weakened entry points. Houses whose residents are careless about security. Houses with few or no security devices. Potential rewards. Houses displaying signs of wealth. Story 9. I grew up with a whole lot of thieving scumbags, bank robbers, carjackers, etc. Here are my suggestions in no particular order. Get a big effing dog. Very few thieves want to deal with that. If they aren't specifically targeting your house, then they will move on to the next one. For houses they're targeting, they will leave poisoned food outside. Keep an eye out for that. Don't use window air conditioners. This was by far the most common way to gain access by my friends. Kick in the AC and climb on in. If nothing of value is found, the AC could be taken in for scrap metal. Motion detecting lights. They're a minor annoyance, will scare off the brainless junkies. Visible cameras. Can be fake, though they're so cheap, just get real ones. Don't leave your garage door open. Thieves like to drive around nice neighborhoods looking for people who left their garage open. They love a situation where someone might be mowing their backyard. Quickly hop out of the car, run into the garage, grab as many tools as they can, and run. If they brought a truck, they'll be grabbing bigger stuff. You probably won't even notice or know what happened. Make it a royal pain in the ass to get into your backyard. 10-foot fence would be nice. No one likes breaking in through the front door or front windows. No one likes scaling 10-foot fences either. This complements the get a big effing dog concept. Don't keep your car keys on a hook next to the front door. Newer cars are impossible for an average thief to hotwire. Easy as hell to kick in your front door and snatch the keys straight off the hook though. Related to the above, don't answer the door for strangers. If thieves are casing out the neighborhood, they'll pretend to be magazine salesmen or Jehovah's Witnesses, etc., just to take a peek of what's inside, especially that hook for car keys. Once again, a big effing dog can help here. Get an alarm system. If you can't pony up for that, get the stickers and signage off eBay. Don't keep anything in your car, especially work trucks and vans. Hell, I even know of someone who robbed a cop car. Keep your vehicles empty. Locks don't effing matter. The lock on the back door of a work van can be popped out in under 5 seconds with a slide puller and a screw. The locks on your house are effing useless too. If you're really paranoid and have a good budget, steel door frame plus solid steel door. I don't have much of any other advice on that. Don't trust locks. Lock your doors. Even though I don't think much of locks, don't leave your house unlocked either. Deadbolts on every exterior door. Keep expensive stuff out of sight. Your 70-inch flat-screen TV should not be visible from the street. Your MacBook Pro shouldn't be kept right in front of your first floor office window. Don't invite strangers over. Hosting an open invitation kegger is a terrible idea. If a thief shows up, they're either stealing something right then and there, or they're casing the place to come back later. If you have a safe, use it. It's utterly stupid how many people who have them just leave them open all the time because it's annoying. If you have guns, try to keep that information to yourself. There are whole subsets of thieves dedicated to scouting out gun owners and robbing them when they're not home. Don't post your entire social life publicly on social media. The people scouting out robberies aren't always across the street in a sketchy van. They're just following you on Facebook, Twitter, Foursquare, and Instagram. Keep anything that's really expensive in a bank security box. If your grandmother passed on a $50K diamond ring to you, don't keep it in your jewelry box. Don't do illegal crap. The houses of drug dealers are robbed on a constant basis because the thieves know the cops won't get called, and the propensity for those victims to have expensive jewelry and electronics. Stay on the up and up, and a lot of trouble will avoid you. Leave the TV and lights on when you're not home. Not only does it give the impression someone's home, it will also entertain and comfort your big effing dog. If you're in an apartment, do whatever you can to add more locks, if possible according to your lease. Alarm system, cameras, etc. Lots of shady maintenance men and landlords out there. Lock your patio door, even if you live on the 10th floor. Scaling the sides of most buildings is actually pretty effing easy. If you're prohibited from owning a big effing dog, a little annoying yip-yapping, ankle-biting dog can work. Cats are effing useless. Keep the flaunting to a minimum. If you have an expensive vehicle, at least try to keep it in a garage. If you have lots of expensive tools, don't fly a Snap-on banner outside your garage. Put up the "This house is protected by Smith & Wesson" sign. Read up and be aware of how most popular scams work. Meter scams, fence salesman scams, etc. Most of the time, someone will be distracting you somehow while their accomplice sneaks into your house. Just don't talk to strangers and you'll avoid all of them. Junkies love to rob the elderly. Medications and jewelry. Your broke college ass is probably safe, but please make sure your grandmother is all set. Don't leave an extra key under your doormat, / under a rock, / in your mailbox, / on top of the door frame, etc. Also worth discussing are what to do when a burglar is in your house. Get the F out. Your PlayStation is not worth getting stabbed over. You will most likely lose any fights you start. Don't do that. Call the cops. Don't count on them to save you, but do it anyways. At the very least, you'll most likely have to file a police report anyways for an insurance claim. The chambering of a shotgun generally scares the crap out of thieves. Real thieves will get the F out of there if they think someone has a gun. Junkies, though, might be too effed up to notice, or they might have their own and not care. Still, best to get the F out. If there's no way to avoid an encounter with the robber, get naked. Not down to your underwear, I mean 100% naked. Get crazy. Yell things. This is not advertised for attractive females, but for the average Redditor, it's a viable deterrent. The thief has a specific game plan in mind. They know how they're going to get in, where they plan to go, what they plan to take, where they plan to exit, and how they plan to leave. Anything that can be done that will majorly disrupt their plan will generally make them leave ASAP. Mace. If you can't legally procure mace, sporting goods stores should carry bear spray. If you can't get that either for some reason, wasp/hornet spray. Again, I can't really stress this enough. Goal number 1 is to get the F out. Don't bring wasp spray to a gunfight. If you have your keys on you, set off your car alarm. And lastly, just some general advice. Follow your local news and police reports vigorously. You should be able to get a feel for the types of crime happening in your area, and can figure out a game plan based on that. Personally, my area is high crime, but it's all smash and grab type thefts. While my vehicle has been robbed 3 times in the past year, I have zero concern whatsoever that I'll be the victim of an armed home invasion. It's just not the style for the area. If you have a choice, try to live in a moderately populated area, near a police station. Living at the end of an isolated cul-de-sac is going to be a lot easier for a thief to get into without being noticed than a townhome in a 100-unit property. Be friendly with your neighbors, to the point where they will recognize any sketchy activity. Keep your nose clean, and don't associate yourself with sketchy characters. Crime begets crime. It's callous for me to say, but really 90% plus of the victims of crime that I know had it coming. Keep receipts for anything you paid more than $250 for, and keep them in a fireproof safe. If you do end up having to file an insurance claim, they're going to F you over hardcore without documentation. Be aware that for high-ticket items, they're required to be scheduled on your policy ahead of time. If you have a $15K home theater system or $20K in collectible Magic TG cards, your insurance company needs to know about that ahead of time. Keep serial numbers, and photos if possible, of anything you care about. If your laptop gets stolen, and you see it the next day in the pawn shop down the street, it won't mean crap unless you have that serial number already on file somewhere. Register all of your products with the manufacturer whenever possible. You will have a hell of a time dealing with an automotive theft claim if the thief used your car keys. Keep those safe. Make copies of all your important documents, including copies of all your credit cards. It will be 100 times easier to cancel all of them if a thief gets them. Shred any important documents you're throwing out. I could write endlessly about identity theft. I'll save that for another day. Big effing dog. Regularly back up your computer to some cloud-based service. Dropbox, Google Drive, etc. If someone steals your laptop, it shouldn't F up your life. Install some sort of tracking app on your computer and phone right now if you haven't already. Story 10. Seen a couple of these supposed experts saying your dog is useless. Bull crap. If you have a little yappy dog, that makes sense. My home was broken into several years ago during the middle of the day. I had a lab/GSD mix. Like a lot of people would say, nicest dog ever, would probably kiss you to death, blah blah blah. I got a call from the cops because someone driving by called the police after seeing a bloody man in a ripped shirt running away from our front door. When I got home, my front door area just inside the house had what looked like a little dried blood on the floor and door. The police said when they arrived, the dog was just laying there staring at the door. The police said he barked as they arrived, but quickly and easily calmed down. Nothing was taken, and only a small table by the door where we put our keys and stuff was knocked over. Long story short, guy brought himself to the hospital and cops picked him up as he was leaving. We didn't press charges for breaking in or anything, just let the police handle it, and never actually saw the guy, but the police officer told us his cheek was totally torn from the side of his mouth towards his jawline. We figured pickles did enough justice, and our lives would be easier to just move on. Dogs are smart, man. Dogs are smart. They can just sense. They can sense fear. They can sense danger. They can sense when someone is not threatening. So yeah, no, I totally agree. Dogs are what's happening. You got to get you a dog. Story 11. I would have talked to him. My friend got robbed at gunpoint. Turned out it was just a pellet gun, while he was outside at a restaurant working on his laptop. They took his laptop and his phone, and it cost him several months of work. He went down to the jail, talked to the guy. Turns out he had been putting in job applications. Hadn't heard anything back, and his mom was pressuring him about earning money for the family. This is a family who doesn't own a car and lives off of welfare checks. Incredibly poor kid, going through tough times. I think he was 17 years old. So he's in jail on 7 counts of robbery, facing a lot of time, and genuinely remorseful for what he did. My friend ended up taking his girlfriend and brother to visit him on a couple occasions. Friend didn't want to press charges on him because with the other robberies he was already facing more than enough time, but the state picked him up. Anyway, after seeing the story unfold, it showed me how much difference you can make in someone's life by going up to them, forgiving them, and just being real. Maybe the jail time would have straightened him out, but my buddy doing what he did, I believe, sealed the deal. The robber tried to get his laptop back, but had already sold it, and the buyer wasn't willing to give it up. Story 12. I did some thefting in my youth. I'll leave it at that. Keep in mind, I was no mastermind. When picking a house, besides the obvious answers like a full mailbox and neighbors scattered about, I often picked houses by the stupid tricks people use when they go out of town. Leave the radio on, leave the TV, leave the lights on, etc. Tons of lights on, and an obnoxiously loud TV on in the living room at 2 a.m. on a Sunday night in an upper middle class neighborhood? LOL. Okay. When I found a potential house, I'd obnoxiously ring the doorbell, then run away and watch for activity. After that, if I felt comfortable, I'd try to gain entry. If it was too hard, oh well. Every time I broke/opened a window or door, I would run away again for a half hour or so and watch for activity, even if I had to do it in multiple steps. For example, break the window by the door, then run away and wait. come back and ajar the door, then run away again. I did this because of an irrational fear of silent alarms. Obviously, if I saw any kind of activity or set off an active alarm, I would leave. So you want to keep me out of your house? Don't appear as a target. Full mailbox, obstructed view of the house from streets. Don't make it easy for me. Have lots of deadbolts, active alarms, motion lights, dogs, etc. I wouldn't with any of that crap. If I do get in your house, don't keep small valuables all about. I often did all of my work on foot and stole money, jewelry, small electronics, etc. Have a safe, basically. Hope that helps. I'm reformed now, but you can still judge. Story 13. I'm not a burglar, but leave the TV on high when you leave the house, get a dog, make sure you do the bare minimum like lock all doors and windows and get a basic security system. Basically, just don't make yourself the low-hanging fruit. Also, keep in mind that most robberies aren't completely random. Not a lot of people will go into a house not knowing if there's anyone inside or anything. Usually, they'll either get a tip or scope out a place for a while. Easiest thing on earth you can do with zero effort? Go to eBay and buy a protected by Dyson security or whatever the F security system sign that you can stick on your lawn. That will repel 90% of people, except maybe if someone you know is the one who robs you. Story 14. For your windows, please use a fly screen and bar it up. It makes a lot of noise to break into. The fly screen is obvious. You don't want some pissed off burglar releasing bees into your house. The thieves will then pick the door. Double doors, bar/metals, and big ass doors are good. Get some good locks, but this is where the double door comes in because it takes longer to pick. As the door is most likely avenue since windows are secure, you should secure it with cameras. I'm going to throw out the idea of having an automated warning, when motion detected, in viewing the security feed. This way, since the most likely entry point is your door, you'll have two that they'll have to break through, and in that time, you can contact the police, and sure, they may get in, but they won't have much time. A dog is a good defense against backdoor entry, which is also a weak point in a lot of houses. Play something on a tablet or the radio. Noise is also good. It makes people think there's someone inside. Redirect calls from your home to your mobile. This is because people would check by calling the house multiple times and hanging up, if there's someone picking up. Lastly, neighbors. Be friendly. Talk to them and know your neighborhood. Nothing is better than a physical body presence and people having each other's backs. Thieves aren't interested in robbing a home highly secured. It takes time, and the risk associated is much higher than an insecure house. They will hunt around the block looking for targets. The idea is to prevent your home from looking like an easy target. Even if they choose it, make it seem like your house is occupied. If they continue, make it hard to get in and enough time for you to call the police. No home is ever safe. All homes can be broken into, but because people robbing houses aren't exactly big shots, they're usually just some low-life idiots who need some quick cash. Story 15. Locking your door. Wouldn't believe the amount of people that don't lock their doors. Edit. Story. In college, I was stupid. No excuse for my actions, as the risk was much greater than the reward. I could have ruined my life going to a top 10 university. A friend and I would sneak into the freshman dorms at 4 to 5 a.m. in the morning, literally open unlocked doors and loot whatever was laying out in the main room. The way the dorm was set up was the main room would connect to 3 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. Electronics, Xbox, PS, laptops, bikes, TVs. We took a 50-inch TV from one room, awkward as F walking out of the room, and a few blocks with that. Textbooks, and basically anything we could grab. If you're a college student with a suite and a key, please lock your door, as it's not worth the risk. Be safe, everyone, and don't let yourself be a target. Story 16. First off, I'm not coming in at night while you're asleep. The hypothetical I'm, because nobody sane admits to criminal behavior, so I'm definitely just a kid on the internet trying to sound cool. I'm coming during the workday when nobody's home. But just to be on the safe side, since some burglars are also essayers and murderers, sleep with your burglar alarm set. Most alarms have an instant setting where they'll go off right away if a door is open, as opposed to that 60-second countdown to give you time to enter the alarm code. Even if you can't afford to pay a monitoring company to actually monitor your alarm, still get one installed that makes tons of noise, and post alarm signs everywhere. If I'm coming to murder and essay you at night, in addition to stealing your belongings, I'm coming in the back door, not the front. Your neighbors can see your front door, so if I kick it in, they see a broken front door if they happen to look out their window. But how often do you see your neighbor's back door? Your front porch light is great for letting me know you're home, and will probably stop me from walking by to check if you forgot to lock it. But if I'm breaking in at night, I know you're home already. Keep your back porch light on. Have some floodlights installed in the backyard. If you like dogs, get a mean-ass dog. If you don't, still post signs saying you have a mean-ass dog. I'm not worried about getting eaten by your dog, but if he's one of those annoying ones that barks up a storm, I'll leave before he gets me caught. You can find some how-to about this on the internet. People can supposedly get your garage door open from the outside if you don't have some zip ties and secure the emergency catch. I've never done that, but the theory that it could be done makes sense. If someone's in your garage, they can close the garage door and have all the time in the world away from prying eyes to work on getting into your home, or just stealing your cars and power tools. Deadbolts are great, but your lock hardware is usually attached to your door frame with tiny screws, so a good kick will bust the whole contraption out no matter how hefty the actual bolt is or how awesome your door is. You want to replace those tiny screws with insanely long, durable ones. Again, internet can help with this. They also sell these funny cane-looking things you can wedge below your doorknob to make kicking in your door tougher. They don't really work, but if a guy is stupid and desperate and tries a few kicks and can't get the door open enough, he might just move on versus making more noise and risking notice. But seriously, nobody breaks in at night. I'm going to drive out to an upper-middle-class suburban neighborhood off the beaten path during the day. You know how you paid extra for that house with the 45-minute commute to work because of all the trees, hiking trails, and being farther from the traffic and bustle of town? Unless you're paying HOA duties out the butt for constant patrols, you're pretty unprotected. That's the kind of neighborhood I'm visiting. I'm going to watch your house and a few others on your street for a few days and see when people come and go. Once I'm pretty comfortable that you work a normal 9 to 5 and don't come home for lunch and your neighbors mostly do the same, I'm going for either your garage or the back door, probably around mid-morning, maybe noonish. I might have a tool belt, great for carrying useful tools and also passing myself off as a handyman, cable guy, a guy who reads meters, or something similar in the rare case that someone sees me. I'm not after your TV. Who the hell can walk into a house and walk out with a 57-inch LCD display that you probably wall-mounted, making me spend an hour getting it down? It's whatever I can grab in 10 minutes or less and carry out with me easily. If you own guns or jewelry or valuable portable electronics, hide them, get a safe, etc. Now, if you let me sneak into your garage, I might just park my car in there, close the garage door, and spend an hour loading whatever I can fit into my trunk. A lot of people don't think that hard about securing their garage when it's a pretty good point of entry. Plus, you have some valuable stuff in there. Some houses even have little screen doors going from their yard into the garage. If you have an attached garage, get rid of that crap. Story 17. Local cop here. On a constructive level, lighting, burglars like working where they can't easily be seen. Make sure you have good lights at all entryways. Make sure your door is secure. At minimum, it should be 1 3/4 inches thick, secured by deadbolt and door lock. The frame should properly be reinforced as well. Exterior door hinges are very bad. Shrubs are beautiful, but also great places to hide if someone wanted to break into a house. On a personal level, write down all of your serial numbers or identifying marks of expensive items to an electronic document and email it to yourself. Don't leave flashy/expensive things out in front of open windows. Only invite people over you know you can trust. Be alert. Burglars often scope out a place before accessing it. An unfamiliar car, new people in the neighborhood might be looking at weak spots to attack. Make note of what those individuals look like and let the police know. On a recovery level, home alarms, particularly audible ones, minimize damage and get help your way as soon as possible. Homeowners insurance for property could help you recover. Home surveillance systems provide police with the ability to investigate possible suspects and a chance at getting your valuables back. I hope this was helpful. Story 18. I miss the old days when someone would ask a question on Ask Reddit, and there'd be a couple jokey replies that would get downvoted to the bottom of the pile if it wasn't welcome or inappropriate. But a majority of the answers pertained to the question asked and were well thought out and usually truthful. Now it's just har 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 har, do the thing that's opposite of the other thing you'd be asking because funny. Derpity doopity doo. That's what you get for not adding serious tag. Turns decent questions like this into just complete crap threads. Granted, this question has been asked before in one form or another, but new users and new members means different content. The whole serious tag thing makes it seem like every goddamn day on Ask Reddit is April 1st. On the other hand, typically the OPs don't mind because, hey, you got invisible good-for-nothing points. Whoop-de-crap. Story 19. I worked in security, ADT, and here's what I found on how burglars would case. They'd walk your street like a Mormon or some other business person, very professional, and hang door hangs or other things like info tracks, whatever. This would be the day they hit. They would walk a street, both sides, and do this. Then walk back through, having already been casing for a while. What they look for is a block of houses that still have the hangs on. That suggests that no one is home in that surrounding area, so no one can see. Then, they 9 out of 10 times go through the front door. A security sign will 90% of the time deter them. If you have a security sign and your neighbor doesn't, guess who the burglar is going to try to break into? Don't let the security system company put your touchpad anywhere that can be seen from a window, either the regular windows or the ones besides doors. If they can see it and you left it off, they can see that too. Getting into a garage is extremely easy, and no one ever locks the door from the garage to the house. I've sold more security systems by demonstrating the ease of getting into a garage. Go to your garage door and press firmly towards the top. Does it open enough to see up into it? Then they can break in. With a coat hanger, they can grab the red string and up goes the door. So cut your garage string/rope. You have a remote and don't need it. I can't think of anything else that wasn't said, but feel free to ask. Story 20. Allow me to share my experience with burglars. I had my house broken into once. Doors locked, security bar and sliding glass windows, no tools laying around, locked garage, and locked windows. Here's how they did it. They got a pry bar, stuck it under the garage door, and lifted just enough to get a low-profile hydraulic jack under the door. We know this because everything about how a garage door operates was absolutely broken. After they got the garage door open, they found the door to the house locked. They already brought tools, so what's one more? They plugged their own sawzall right into the wall in my garage and cut a hole directly into the house. Moral of the story is, if someone wants to get into your house, there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop them. Period. An alarm might help. Keep in mind that most police response times, especially to home alarms, are most likely to be crap, and the burglar may know this depending on the area. The alarm triggers at the company tries to get a hold of the owner first. Call that 3 to 5 minutes. The company calls the police. We have a break-in at blah 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 street, northwest. And we couldn't get a hold of the owner/owner isn't home. Depending on the distance to the station, you're talking another 10 to 30 minutes. After my break-in, it took the police 45 minutes to show up. A properly motivated person only needs a few minutes to assess things worth taking. If they already know what they're looking for, then less. Try this. Open your front door and walk directly to your TV/PC/safe and walk directly back. How long did that take you? The police will not come that fast. Story 21. Well, there's a variety of things that a top-tier burglar like myself looks for. You can do tons of easy things to make sure we won't even target your house in the first place. First point, the door. A locked door is a sign that you have something inside your house you want to protect. A wide open door means come in or whatever. There's nothing worth stealing in here. So leave your doors wide open so people know that there's nothing to rob from your house. If you can leave open your windows too, then you pretty much guaranteed every burglar is going to walk right past your house. To further address this point, make a list and hang it up near your doorstep. On the list are all the items that you absolutely do not have inside your house. But here's the genius part. You actually do have those things in your house. You're simply lying to confuse the robbers. Quite brilliant indeed. Example, there's absolutely no jewelry in this house, and if it were, the dresser next to the bed would be the last place I would put it in. Next thing is rather simple. If you have a dog, get rid of it. Contrary to popular belief, burglars are actually helped with dogs. Nobody knows how they do it, but there's some kind of dog whisperers. People have reported burglars carrying out stuff helped by dogs. So if you don't want Fifi to help carry out your flat-screen TV on his back, better get rid of him. Other pets aren't as easily convinced to help the burglars, but better safe than sorry, so ditch those as well. Now, should you get robbed, despite all these tips, there's some things you can do to help the police catch the thieves. As soon as you notice you've been robbed, it's essential to swab down any doorknobs, light switches, basically anything a potential robber could have touched. swipe over them with some cloth and try to absorb some of their DNA left behind when they touched it. Also, a common mistake is calling the cops as soon as you realize the robbery. Most criminals often have regrets, and a stunning 89% of all thieves return the stolen goods within 2 weeks of the heist. So if you were robbed, wait at least 2 weeks before alerting anyone of the robbery. As long as everything is quiet, the thief can show remorse and bring back your stuff. As soon as the cops are involved, they're scared off and will not return your stuff. There you go. 100% foolproof anti-burglary tips from an actual burglar. P.S. If you want to receive our monthly magazine, Robbin' People, please list your address below. Also, include any days you might not be home the following year. We don't want your magazine to end up in a mailbox waiting for you to return home. It might get stolen, or worse. Okay, so this is obviously the absolute worst advice that anyone... No, I'm just kidding. Of course, I was waiting for that satire post. Very well written, very funny. Thank you for kind of diffusing the seriousness of the thread for a little bit. Let's move on. Story 22. I'd have thought this would go without saying, but apparently a lot of people out there are really, really stupid, judging by the amount of people who claim to never lock their doors because they're in a safe area. Lock your crap up. I've lived in some seriously dodgy areas. I mean, like right next to unlit alleyways where they do drug deals in the daytime. I've seen people watching the house while I'm alone in it. Neighbors have seen people casing it. Others have caught people on camera trying the doors on the houses on the street. We don't get broken into, ever. 2 bolts and 2 locks on the front door. Last house had a latch as well, so even if you forget to lock the door at night, nobody's getting in further than will set the alarm off, and you couldn't get your arm around to undo the latch unless you dislocate your arm. Back door locks, back garden has a padlock on the gate, spikes on the fence, and CCTV and movement sensing lights. All blinds go down at night so people can't see in. There's a perimeter alarm as well, so if you touch the windows or manage to get the door open on the latch, it will go off immediately, and it's effing loud. It gives me tinnitus. When we're away for long periods of time, family and neighbors come around regularly to check that everything's okay and open the blinds, and there's timers on the light so they come on in the evening. We also have a dog now, and while he isn't a staffy, he looks and sounds a lot like one and has some serious force behind him when he wants to. He's knocked me over saying hello a few times, and I'm 6 feet tall. I know a lot of people who are very smug about not locking their doors or windows properly, like it's something to get proud over. Guess whether it's me or them that's had several £100 worth of tech equipment and irreplaceable value stolen. Story 23. I can tell you what worked for me. Some guy died in my front yard. Nobody saw how he died or even how he ended up in my yard, but damn if the crowds didn't begin to gather a short time later. Anyways, rumor has it that this guy broke into my house and I killed him, then dragged his body into my yard and displayed him so the entire neighborhood would know not to F with me. Every single neighbor of mine has been broken into and robbed a number of times. My house, though, remains untouched. I was outside and a couple guys were walking up the street and I overheard one say to the other, "That house you don't ever want to F with. He'll kill you and leave you in his front yard." How bad is it? A young kid stole some money from my wife and I talked to the parents about it. They gave me back the money, begged me to forgive them, and within a week moved out. The guy who died, his girlfriend came over looking for him, and I took her into our home and comforted her as the police were doing business. I've helped out the kids in my neighborhood and even took care of one for over a year when his dad tried to actually kill him. I'm probably one of the nicest guys you could meet. Dead guy in your front yard makes your house a no-go zone for the criminal element. So this is pretty funny. Of course not the guy dying, but the fact that there's a rumor going around that if you trespass on this guy's property, he's going to murder you and then drag your body and leave it out front like it's Game of Thrones and they're chopping people's heads off and leaving them on a spike at the gates to the city. That's wild how rumors like that just kind of fester. Story 24. Not a burglar, but used to have to break into locked houses for mortgage companies that had been abandoned by mortgagers. The number one thing that made my day easier was French doors. The second was unlocked windows. Most French doors only have those latches at the top and bottom of the door with a worthless deadbolt in the center. Apply a little pressure at the top and bottom of the opposite door and you expose the latches on the first. Flip those with a key or screwdriver and then you can simply push both doors in with barely a scraping sound from the deadbolt. Takes less than 8 seconds. Some have a sliding lock on the inside, but the opposing door is often unprotected still. Occasionally, you come across those that lock the way they should, but it's way too rare. I'll never own a set. Story 25. Not a burglar, but my old house was broken into 18 times in 10 years before I could finally move. Here are some tips, both inexpensive and a little more advanced, that worked at protecting valuables, as only one laptop was stolen throughout that time period. I was stupid to leave it on my main chair's arm for use whenever I wanted. Anyways, here you go. When framing a door, buy like 10 6-inch long wood screws and put them right through the frame of the door and into the next beam. This will reinforce any door that you think is secure but is a cheap-ass POS from Lowe's, Home Depot, etc. When you've bought and installed 7 that were broken at one weak point, you see the difference between your first door that looks like it was melted by Ryu Sharuken. Keyed entry/exit security locks. Let you have to turn a key to leave the house. When you're home, keep your keys hanging there in case of fire or getting the F out quickly. However, in most break-ins, I could tell they tried unlocking and shaking my door, then noped out while my alarm was going off loudly in their ear. These are not more expensive, more than having them make you another key to match all doors if you buy multiple sets with the same key code. Have an alarm. They ring you and the cops almost instantly. Crap is loud and causes panic. 10 seconds and there with an alarm going off feels like 10 minutes, unless you're a POS who's extremely used to it. Free install and $20 a month was well worth it, and now I will always have one. If you look on Amazon or YouTube, can't find now, posting from mobile, you can find a door jamb armor for like $80 to $90. This is sheet metal that sandwiches your door frame in key points, i.e. around the lock and the door handle. It also reinforces the hinges. They take SWAT battery rams to this stuff until there's a hole in the middle of your door, but don't easily get in. Security system doors. Not that cheap one from steel grating on sale, stupid. The most expensive iron-looking kick-me-hard door. Those cheap ones are priced accordingly, but so are the nice ones. If you combine this with the previous, no one is getting in. Through a door. Barricade windows in areas you don't need or care about. You're on Reddit, gaming or watching Netflix all night and sleeping in the day. You don't want windows open or natural light in anyway, right? I got maximum room darkening drapes at like Big Lots for cheap. In back rooms, I had shelves in front of windows and extra wood in front of them. So this limited which windows could be entered from. They sell cheap window alarms that go off when a window is opened. They aren't connected to the main alarm, but give the illusion and still give the same oh crap feeling. If you're really in a pinch or refuse to leave or can't but don't feel safe, look up a local ironwork company. They will retrofit all of your windows with steel security bars. I had this done to 9 windows, all large slider types for like $2,400. Seems like a lot, but my mortgage was $400 and I could afford it, and didn't want to give up on the house I bought at $20 for cheap. Read someone else say this, but don't effing advertise. Those room darkening drapes were always drawn. My doors were closed and locked. Someone was hanging out and left the door open, and it was immediately shut, and I would say, sorry, I'd appreciate it if you closed my doors. I have nosy neighbors and have been broken into. I don't like people seeing it's nice in here. Also, all purchases were shipped to work. They would only be brought in at night or time when I could do so quickly. The boxes were cut up and thrown away where you couldn't tell I had a new TV, etc. Don't answer your door for people you don't know or let people in you don't know. Entertaining guests or ordering pizza? Meet them outside. Tell true friends sorry, but your other person isn't welcome, or learn more and then say, okay, they're cool. But pre-screen who comes in. If there's some door-to-door person, talk to them through the door. This is your house and they're knocking on your door and you don't know them. F being considered rude, but protect yourself and talk through the door. When you travel, have a buddy or someone you trust stay there or visit daily. Not like, hey, I'll stop by and get mail a couple times. Like, stock the fridge with beer and microwave stuff and say, come hang out a few times and stop every day, please. Pay them if necessary to inconvenience them. Some may be a lot, but some are easy. I lived 2 blocks from the projects for 10 years, and it was very inexpensive, which allowed me to travel, pay off all debt, and save for a very nice house. Would do it again and miss it sometimes, cause bills suck. But yeah, F that house and anyone who makes people think about random people going through their crap and being in their home or watching them. Story 26. My car was broken into at roughly 1 a.m. I was awake and watching Alien at full volume with my window open. I heard a crack and had a quick look out of the window and saw some figures. At the time, I was naked and had been lying on my bed. It was the middle of summer and it was very warm. After seeing figures, I grabbed my katana from The Last Samurai and rushed downstairs. Bursting out the front door with my katana above my head and my junk dangling below, I ran towards them. I literally smelt crap in the air as they turned and ran. One of them fell over, picked himself back up, and ran off down the road. I stood there with my heart beating and my wang swinging, absorbing my glorious victory. I then turned and looked back at my car. Turns out that watching Alien at full volume was a bad idea, as not only had they bent my door open, removed my radio, my bass, a few games I had laying out, my subwoofer, but they had also begun trying to steal my rear lights. The crack I heard was from one of the clever individuals trying to snap the plastic away from the light fitting. They only needed to press the quick release button in the boot, which they had access to, already being inside my car. They also didn't see the €300 amp attached to the back of the seat, or they didn't have a standard screwdriver to unscrew it. My bass guitar turned up in a garden about 5 minutes away. I guess it's hard to hide a guitar on your person. And my CD collection was left untouched. I guess they don't like metal. My lesson was that you should not leave things on display. Story 27. Police officer here. Side doors that lead into the garage from the backyard are the #1 entry point, so make sure it's secured well with a deadbolt and a second deadbolt head height or higher. That way, people can't kick out the door. Make sure your doors are metal high grade and the trim is backed up with metal siding. I put PVC pipes on all my windowsills. It's cheap and prevents the window from being slid open with ease. They will have to break it open, then reach in past broken glass, hopefully leading them to getting cut and leaving DNA. I have my retired canine in the yard. Smiley face. I have an alarm and cameras inside and outside my house that record on a hidden DVR. Won't help if they break in and take that too. Also, my alarm cameras record when the alarm is tripped and it's stored on the net. I have high lattice on top of my fences. This way it's harder to hop the fence and they will break it when they try drawing attention. Things like that make burglars look at your house and see it as a harder target and move on. Have good, vigilant neighbors. When I'm on vacation, we have my mom park her car in front and back, etc., turn different lights on, and have all blinds and curtains shut. Leave a note on front door saying, just because I don't answer does not mean I'm not home. I may be on the other side of the door waiting with my 12 gauge. Many burglars ring the bell and wait to see if anyone is home. If someone answers, they make up a stupid excuse why they're there. Call the police when you see a suspicious people or cars. Write plates down. Let the burglars know that your neighborhood is vigilant. Don't let people know you're on vacation. That includes neighbors, Facebook friends, dirtbag cousin that will sell that information to burglary crews for a cut in the loot. Okay, so I disagree with that last part. I don't think that it's necessarily a good idea to announce to the world that you're on vacation, but I think that neighbors that you trust should absolutely know that you're not going to be around so that they can kind of be on lookout for you and notify you if anything shady is happening. So yeah, last part, if you're nice to your neighbors, as other people have suggested earlier, and you trust them, definitely let them know, like, hey, I'm not going to be around. If you could just empty my mailbox, keep an eye on things, and let me know if anything's going on. So yeah, kind of disagree a little bit there. Story 28. Firstly, don't move within walking distance of a high school. Dogs help. Security system stickers on windows, just get the sticker. Honestly, it's not like someone's going to kick the door down to call your bluff. Leaving a car in your driveway might lead someone to believe that your place is more trouble than it's worth. A clean home burglary only happens when people aren't home. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario is that you kick the door down, some old lady is eating Fruit Loops in front of the moving pictures, and you have to hit her with a vase and throw her in a closet. That's an easy way to add 15 years to a 3-year bid. It's true what they say about bears. I don't have to be faster than the bear, I just have to be faster than you. Same goes for burglary. You don't have to be a fortress, just more of a fortress than your neighbor. Story 29. I'm of the mindset that if someone wants to break in a house, not much is going to deter them unless neighbors are watching. I read a thread a long time ago about a guy who was a pro burglar. In it, he said that he looked for houses with fenced-in backyards where it was hard to see the back of the house. He also said alarm systems weren't much a bother because he was in and out in about 5 minutes. It would take at least 2 minutes for the alarm company to call and another minute of the phone just ringing. He said he usually went straight to jewelry, and that dogs really made no difference unless they were just straight up ferocious sounding. But most interestingly, he said his #1 deterrent was a sticky film material that keeps glass from shattering. I thought that was really fascinating. The biggest obstacle to him was a 5mm sheet of clear plastic window tape. Oddly enough, that guy in particular said he never stole wedding bands. Stay classy, burglars. Story 30. Not a burglar, but I was a thief. But I never stole from people. Just corporations, because in my drug-induced haze, Corporations can just get the money back no problem. You know what would have stopped me? Nothing when I was on drugs and gave no Fs. I knew I'd get caught eventually, but all I cared about was getting the stuff to steal to make money off of. So when you have people like that, there's really not a whole lot you can do to stop it. Also, no, I wasn't one of the cool guys who hacked the system and got 1 penny off every transaction a store did. I was a piece of crap petty thief, but knew some guys who did bigger jobs. And they were the same way, only thing that you could stop them was handcuffs and a cell to get sober in. Drug addiction is a real problem. Please talk to anyone about it if you have a problem. I'm always here, and I know someone on here can find a website or phone number for someone to talk to. P.S. If anyone cares, what woke me up was getting sober in jail and 60-year-old guys telling me, "You really want to be like me, missing your granddaughter's birthday sitting in jail?" And also seeing my grandmother cry because what I've done, it broke my heart and made me wake up. Story 31. I was burgled a few months ago. I'm a student and they took all my school crap, practically bankrupted myself just replacing it all, not to mention what it's done to my anxiety. F you, burglars. You make me want to believe in a hell just so I know you will all go there. I apologize, OP. I'm still pretty salty about it. Haha. I would like to add that I think the reason I got hit was because they noticed me leaving that night with a bag of clothes because I was staying at a friend's, so I'm glad I wasn't there, I guess. I also had just moved in and there was no deadlock on the door. So for anyone without a deadlock, please do go get one installed on any entrance. They actually broke in through a window by smashing it, but if I had a deadlock on my door, it would have made stealing my TV and bigger items much harder for them at least. Also, be very careful when leaving for the night that you don't make it exceedingly obvious. Please, 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 people thinking of robbing places, realize that it's not just a person's stuff you take. You also take their security and personal comfort. While I couldn't afford to replace anything not essential, it's not the loss of stuff that affects me the most. It's just a very cruel thing to do to another person. Perhaps try to put yourself in their shoes. Story 32. Not a thief, but I install security systems for a living. At this point, I've been doing it for just about 5 years and seen every kind of break-in I can imagine. Some tips I've come to use in my own house. Bolt the safe down. I cannot stress this enough. I don't care how big or heavy it is. I've seen them taken. Deadbolts will not stop someone from coming in. There are very few doors I trust. I've seen a few of the posts from up above say front doors are never broken into. They are. Lock it down. Lock your damn windows. I have these screw-down devices that clamp onto the window track and make it so that even if I leave a window unlocked, I can only open it 3 to 4 inches. Get to know your neighbors. It was stated before that this was a good thing to do, and I firmly believe in. Nosy neighbors can be good for something, haha. And that being said, having neighbors doesn't always mean that you won't be targeted. Most people are gone during the day and have their shade shut at night and are distracted by their TV shows. Don't park outside. Pretty easy to tell if you're home or not. Don't leave anything outside they can use to climb on. Seen so many break-ins where the homeowner's ladder, grill, or trash cans were used to access windows that would have been out of reach. Obviously, I firmly believe in my alarm system as well. The general rule I have for them is to have your perimeter covered. If you can have the system go off before someone comes in, then this will be your biggest weapon to keep someone out. Cameras inside and outside are huge as well. Outside cams are pretty self-explanatory, but the inside camera helps avoid false alarms. When our system goes off, I get onto my app and can instantly tell if it's a roommate, because he'll be dancing in front of it, mouthing, "My bad, dude," or if someone has actually broken into the house. I relay this to my monitoring personnel when they call, and they in turn give this information to the police when dispatched. If the cops know someone is in the house, they will respond as quick as they can. They want to keep us safe, and when they know someone is in the house for sure, I've seen them go to extreme measures to do so. Mad respect for them. Thanks. Story 33. My nephew died of brain cancer 4 years ago. He battled it for a horrible, long, excruciating year before he died at 8 years old. He was featured in the news, and my brother and his wife did local fundraisers, set up a fund to scholarship local kids to play soccer, my nephew's favorite sport, were very visible in the media, etc. And as a result, my brother and his wife have a lot of Facebook friends. Unfortunately, my brother posted some photos of them on a vacation about a year after Johnny died, and someone broke into their house and stole mostly electronics and some other stuff. Thank God my brother had backed up all their photos/videos of Johnny to an external cloud storage, because they would have all been lost. Someone even stole Johnny's green iPod that had all of his favorite music on it that his older brother was hanging on to. Bastards. Story 34. Cop here. Motion-activated floodlights are a huge help. keeping your greenery trimmed so that they don't hide windows and doors. An audible alarm. They'll leave when it goes off usually, but a silent alarm is best if you want them caught. Lock your windows. So many people forget. Do not have glass on or near a door, as burglars can break the glass and reach in to unlock the door. A big dog that barks at everyone on the property. This can be trained to be effective. If you go away, have a trusted friend hang out at the house for periods of time. If you have a sliding door, don't just put a stick down as a locking mechanism. It's pretty easily defeated by experienced burglars. Camera systems are pretty easily purchased now, so those are of course a big help. Effective measures to catch the burglars are taking pictures of your property and keeping a list of serial numbers. Pawn shops keep track of who sells what to them and give that list to us. It's surprisingly the easiest way to catch them, unless they travel pretty far to sell everything. Story 35. I know a lot of folks in here have said that they don't worry about dogs or guns. On the contrary, I lived a really effed up life before I joined the Army and got set straight. I have signs around my house that let people know a combat veteran lives here, as well as signs that warn them of unsafe pit bulls. I also have two 80-pound pit bulls that are both trained to attack. I can barely walk them without having a problem, and I've had to reinforce my fencing significantly after the neighbor's dog got in the back and was killed. Now, if I were younger me and I saw older me covered in tattoos with combat veteran license plates, combat veteran stickers, etc., constantly sitting in the garage watching the neighborhood or the front porch watching the neighborhood with other big guys covered in tattoos, and a pair of dogs that about tore anyone's head off were it not for the chains they're on when walking by the house, younger me would skip this house. Then again, I'm always home. As far as weapons go, if you're not willing to keep a gun within arm's reach with one in the chamber 24/7, there's no point in owning one for self-defense, and there's no reason to leave them anywhere but in a 500-pound gun safe bolted to the garage floor when you're outside the house. If someone tried to break into my home right now, they'd be staring at two very big, very angry pit bulls with a very big, very angry veteran behind them pointing a gun at them. I'm at the point in my life where I'm more grumpy than I'm happy to be alive, and I wouldn't hesitate to shoot someone who comes in my house multiple times before asking them what they're doing in my house. I guess people with an inkling of violence in them don't have to worry about it befalling their lives as much, though, as I really don't ever get any crap unless I go looking for it. Edit. Background: before the Army, lived in rougher parts of Los Angeles. White boy that hung out with Mexican bangers and Crips through childhood, then moved on to Hell's Angels and Tweakers in my teen years. Used to hit houses between the hours of 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. with guys who would tie people up in their beds while we ransacked the place and another one sat outside in the car. I'd say the majority of break-ins occurred because of open doors in backyards, or open windows in rooms where people weren't sleeping. Most burglars won't step foot in a house if there's a person inside. Most drug addicts don't care one way or the other as long as they can get their next 8-ball. Tips: if you're not as friendly with guns and violence as other people. Most of it's already been said. Don't brag about money. Lock everything up. Figure out what will make your house harder to break into than the house next to you and make the adjustments. Pay attention to your neighborhood. Get to know your neighbors. Don't sleep with windows open in rooms you aren't sleeping in. Story 36. Not a burglar here, but some of our home is part of a neighborhood where break-ins are ideal. I'm talking about huge houses that are secluded and in the middle of nowhere. Our neighbors aren't even visible from each property. I know for a fact every house on the street has had a burglary, but luckily we haven't. I think we have two main reasons for that. One, someone is almost always home. We've never taken a long vacation anywhere where everyone has left. Mother is also stay-at-home mom. 2, my dog isn't the biggest, but he has very strong guard instincts. When the rest of the fam is asleep, he's constantly roaming the house. His favorite thing to do is watch the outside, and if anything suspicious happens, he gets into a barking fit. My dog is a bit diff from the usual dogs. If he sees a stranger, he will act aggressively. He also instinctually knows the difference between a guest and a stranger, and I can see him acting hostile. I also have a beware of dog sign in my window. I think that helps. Story 37. Dogs work, but only if trained. My brother used to walk his GSD around the perimeter of his property every night, and my brother specifically paid visual attention to people he didn't know or people that looked shady, and specifically greeted and spoke with people he did know to condition the dog to consider the demeanor of people that his owner observed and interacted with. When my brother, his GSD, and I went camping in the Georgia mountains, he would open the rear door and let his dog out first to explore while we parked and settled. His GSD would immediately explore the natural boundaries of the site, nose on the ground, ears up, without any command guidance or excessive supervision, literally walking the perimeter bushes, fences, streams, slope edges. He went fishing with us off-leash, slept by the campfire while we drank, and retired outside the tent while we slept. At 11 years old, this old female GSD intimidated a black bear out of our campsite. She squared up with the classic GSD posture, ears up, back hair bristled up, showing teeth, aggressively snarling, barking, and not giving an inch when the bear stood up and postured itself. When the bear gave up the effort for free food, it retreated. Heidi, the GSD, then followed it into the woods after giving it a 40-yard head start, while she popped her head back through the bushes to give herself a visual head count of my brother and I before setting out again, securing her family's area. She never barked at strangers from the truck while at a gas station or the grocery store, but she damn well would have if you put your hand on a door handle or the truck bed. But I get it, that's too much work. We all just want a dog that looks cute and that we can keep in a cage while we work 9 to 5. Story 38. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I'm fairly experienced in robbing a house. First thing I do is knock on the front door multiple times until I'm certain no one is home. Then I'll look for a way to get in. Mostly I go through the patio and they have a bar preventing you from opening it, but if you don't have it locked, I can just take any tools you have laying around, push the bar up and get in. Seems to be a common people do is assume a bar will keep you safe. Funny story. Female in my school was Instagramming all the expensive items she had, such as smart TV, Mac, iPhone, etc. Found her address pretty damn easily since she takes selfies everywhere. She tweeted out she's going to her friend's house, so I decided to strike. Took 60% of what I wanted and got out safely. Day later, they found out and she tweeted that she's leaving the state to stay with her cousins. Went in and finished the job. Story 39. Not a burglar, but some things I've thought about. 1. Alarms are a deterrent, not foolproof. They especially don't work if you don't set the alarm. Burglars will still try their luck regardless, then snatch and grab jewelry and TVs before anyone has time to respond. Think how much 2 or 3 men could walk out with in 2 minutes. 2. Burglars will go after the easiest house on your street, the low-hanging fruit. Don't be that house. 3. Your house is only as secure as your weakest link. If you have solid doors and good deadbolts, but your windows are old and don't lock well, the windows are your weakness. Some houses have outdoor attic access that isn't locked. It's not hard to punch through a ceiling. Doggy doors without a motion detector alarm are trouble. I heard reports of burglars sending 12-year-olds into doggy doors to unlock back doors. Beef up every access point to your house or have a security measure for each entrance. 4. Lock up your valuables. Use a safe that is securely mounted to the floor. If electronics like a TV is mounted, use screws with odd heads so they can't be removed with a common screwdriver. Hide the driver bit in a safe place. Bolt a security chain/cable to electronics and anchor them to your wall, or secure them in such a way that they all have to awkwardly move as a unit or are tangled to big furniture. Make your stuff difficult or time-consuming to steal, so that even if they do get in, they pass these items in favor of easy ones. Thieves will have tools, but the more difficulty you give them, the increased likelihood that you won't lose as much. 5. Assume your yard is public property. People steal automatic pool cleaners, bikes, and tools all the time. Put them away, out of sight, or lock them up. Someone mentioned stools or furniture assisting burglars into a window. I'm going to get a bike lock cable to lock my lawn chairs together to mitigate this risk. Just have a locksmith key and lock your house key for an easy unlock when it's time to hang out again. 6. Most burglaries in my neighborhood happen during the day and from the backyard. It's a good idea to assume your fence doesn't exist or even makes good cover for a burglar and secure your house that way. Backyard doors and windows are very important. Story 40. Start with a deadbolt. It takes a slightly more focused effort to get past that as compared to a standard lock. A library card can bypass a standard door lock because people are lazy. A standard lock is designed in such a fashion as to enable you to lock a door from the inside, then shut the door as you leave, without having to pause and use a key to lock it from the outside, i.e. like you do with a deadbolt, otherwise known as a lock prior to the development of those currently used on most doors. The shape of the bolt allows it to be depressed while you shut the door. Then it pops into place. It doesn't depress in the opposite direction, but you can slide a credit/library/AAA card in along the angled surface of the bolt and work at it until the card depresses the bolt. My first try took about 15 seconds, the next one about 10. I haven't had to do this in years, but it's seriously not at all complicated. Source: not a burglar, neither experimentally or habitually. As a teenager, I lived in an extremely rural area. There is a mile walk home from the bus stop after school, and nowhere to go if I accidentally locked myself out of the house. No cell phones then, and no parent arriving home for at least 6 hours after me. I forgot my key regularly, and after the second or third time doing so, I resorted to figuring out just how hard it was to get in without removing the basement window and crawling in that way, prompted by a home security commercial on the air at the time, in which one of the actors claimed, "I can pick most locks with a credit card. Your school library card will, in fact, open doors for you." Story 41. I've worked tons of burglaries. Most make entry via alleyways or the rear of a home. Normally, what people will do is knock on the door. If someone answers, they pretend they were looking for a friend and leave. If no one answers, depending on the home, they will normally go through the side gate to the backyard to look for an open window/door. If none exists, they will break a back window to gain access. 9 out of 10, they leave via the front door to not look suspicious. Unlike what the other guy said, large aggressive-looking dogs do deter people. Solid door frames/impact windows also work, as the noise caused by breaking in will normally alert neighbors. Loud audible alarms are also another great deterrent. Don't waste time on silent alarms. If you live in an area with alleyways and have a wooden privacy fence, I'd hammer nails facing upwards into your property. Story 42. My home was burglarized at Christmas last year. Yes, it was the wet bandits. Whoever did it knew I wasn't at home, as they had the audacity to throw a brick through a window and climb in that way. Since then, I've made the following upgrades to my home to help me feel more secure. Change the locks. This was the first thing I did. I also had double-cylinder deadbolts installed on all exterior doors. Security film on all windows. I can't afford to have my windows replaced with those fancy panes of bullet-resistant things at the local bank/Little Caesars. Home security system. Do your research before you buy one of these. Some of the larger providers will make you sign a contract for X number of years, or will have certain days of the week that you can cancel your contract once it comes time. Get one that's customizable to your home. Glass break sensors, door sensors, and motion sensors are all must-haves. Get one that has a battery backup system and is not reliant on the landline phone. Security camera system. Get this separate from your home security system. Comcast, I know, offers an all-in-one package, which sounds pretty good at first, and then you realize that if the internet/cable goes out at your home, for whatever reason, then your primary and secondary plans are proper effed. Automatic timers for lights. These run about $10 at any home improvement store. Program them to turn off and on at random intervals. Motion detecting exterior floodlights. Lights at night are a bad dream for anyone sneaking around. Getting caught by a light flashing on and off is like your mom walking in on you watching Silk Stockings when you're 14, and you think that everyone had already gone to bed, which definitely did not happen to me. Signs indicating that you have the security system and/or CCTV cameras. Cheap, simple, effective deterrent. Hopefully these tips help. Story 43. Edit. I forgot the golden rule. Get to know your neighbors. They can be your eyes when you're not around. Okay, so I've been robbed 3 times. I learn a new thing each time. 1. Security screens. First time, all they did was cut fly screen and took the wallet. 2. Deadbolts. Even if they get in, at least they go out the way they came with the crap they've stolen, and it's a double check that you've actually locked your doors. 3. Insurance. Please, people, take photos of your stuff, especially games, consoles, and other electronic equipment. Most insurance companies won't pay out unless you have proof you own these. I lost over $3,000 worth of consoles and games because of this. Insurance companies are a-holes and will do anything to not pay out. Last but not least, always lock doors, even when you're home. Statics show a large number of burglaries occur when someone is at home. TLDR, if you give them an opportunity, they will take it. Story 44. I had $8,000 stolen from me, along with about $4,000 worth of drugs. My mistakes were, I have 2 windows in each set of windows in my house. A storm window, and then a thin, I don't know what it does window. I had left the storm window open on my front porch, so it was easy to push the second window in. Make sure both windows are shut. They tried to come back and rob me again, but all the storm windows were shut and they couldn't get in. Don't Snapchat money and drugs to your friends, even the 3 you consider closest. $8,000 and working night shift at Walmart will make anyone steal from you. Get cameras that activate on motion and use IP cameras so that the video is stored in the cloud and they can't just take the DVR recording the crap. Have a large safe that's bolted to the floor to store valuables in, not just a $40 lockable fireproof document safe. And I can't reiterate this enough. Don't brag. If they don't know you have it, they can't come steal it. Story 45. I was working in the back of my house, office in the last room. I couldn't hear the door, but apparently left it unlocked. All of a sudden, I hear someone walking down the hall. Old wooden floors. I grabbed my shotgun from my closet and turned into the hall with a barrel pointed down the hall. There was a tall, black man in the hall walking towards me. He put his arms up and started stuttering. I told him in a loud voice he's lucky I don't blow his effing head off. Then I told him to get the F out of my house, and if I ever saw him near it again, I'd kill him. I was so angry at having been put in that position. I kept thinking, what if one of my family members was there instead of me, alone? And I should have called the police, but didn't. A few years later, the same man came by asking if he could do some work in exchange for a few dollars. I paid him $20 to trim all the hedges around the house. Yeah, I hate to be that guy, but didn't you say that you were gonna blow his effing head off if he came near your house again? And he kinda did, and instead you paid him $20? I mean, I'm just kidding. I mean, good for you for looking the other way there and trying to help the guy out. I just had to bust your chops on that a little bit. Story 47. I might be able to give some insight here. I've never been a burglar, but I was part of an investigative team for several years to find out how to keep your possessions and information secure. Beyond buying a security system, which I highly recommend getting one with lots of noises and lights, here's a few things to keep in mind. Lock your doors and windows. Someone looking for a quick steal would often be deterred by a locked car door or house door. The next step for them would be to break a window, and that causes too much alarm. Don't leave valuables within eyesight. Like I said before, if a door or window is locked, most burglars looking for a quick steal won't engage further. They will look for an easier pick from another vehicle. The problem comes when that person sees you have a brand new computer bag in the backseat of your car. Odds are you're going to have a laptop in the computer bag, incising them to literally break into your car or home at this point. Leave the suspicion that someone might be home. If you and your husband each have a vehicle and have errands to run, carpool. Leaving a vehicle in front of your house displays that someone might be home. Most burglars don't want to have to engage someone. The most important point that can easily be done at literally no cost is to never advertise yourself or your valuables. Do not tell the world that you just bought a new TV. Don't post it on Facebook. Don't tell the people on the bus. Don't leave the box in your front yard. Don't tell your neighbors. Most of the thieves we've talked to said that they saw a Facebook post or they saw the empty box that told them you just bought a new $3,000 TV. One guy in particular said he was walking home when he saw the box of a new flat-screen TV on someone's porch. He walked right up to the house, opened the unlocked door, and took the TV. When you post something to Facebook, you're telling the world that you have a new and expensive item in your possession. When you tag yourself being somewhere on Facebook, you're telling the world that you're not home. The most dangerous thief is the one who strikes at night. This is the least common time for someone to try and back into your home, but it does happen. When someone is breaking into your home at night, they're assuming that you're going to be home. Unless they know you're somewhere on vacation, which they shouldn't know because no one would know that kind of information on Facebook, right? So if someone breaks into your home at night, they're expecting to run into you or be confronted. During this situation, it's best advised not to engage the person. Try to lock yourself in whatever room you're in and call the police. You'll get some things stolen, but don't try to engage the person. You may think you have the upper hand because you have a bat or a gun, but they're entering your home with the assumption that you're going to try and stop them. Odds are they have some weapons too. Daytime burglary is the most common since most people are out of the house. It doesn't matter if you're at work or at school or if you're out robbing someone else's house. You're not home and they know it. The best line of defense is to make it seem like you or someone else is home. The main difference between daytime burglary and nighttime is that daytime people don't expect anyone to be home. If you're out and about when you receive an alert that your house is being broken into, don't speed home and try and catch them in the act. The average time it takes a burglar to be in and out of your house is 3 to 10 minutes. Odds are, by the time you get the call/alert, they're already halfway through your house. When something is out of your control, you tend to make bad choices. As funny as it sounds, I've heard people tell me that they blew the red light to get home because they were being robbed. Don't start calling people and blaming them for your house getting broken into. I know it's hard, but try to stay calm. The only thing you can really do here is make sure the police are aware of the situation. If anyone is going to speed through lights to catch someone, it'll be them. It's a big if. If you are home when the burglary is happening, do not shoot the guy. This person might be breaking into your home and stealing your things, but shooting them brings in all kinds of problems. Know the laws of your state when it comes to this kind of thing, but I would encourage you to not shoot on sight. These are people too. If someone's breaking into your home and you're there, it's best to call the police and lock yourself away from the situation. Engaging a target is risky and is not worth getting yourself hurt. I'm not saying this about all burglars, but in general, they're not mentally stable. Their moral compass is probably not as strong as yours. If you engage them, they might have less hesitation on hurting you compared to your hesitating on hurting them. No one needs to get hurt. Just don't engage. Having a dog helps, but only slightly. Most burglars don't care if you have a pet, but some might at least think twice if it's a guard dog or not. A guard dog training is definitely an option, but not everyone wants their dog to go through it. If you're thinking about it, do some research. Look for a place that will train your dog for your needs, so it doesn't end up being a police dog, unless that's what you want. Know your city and its statistics. This mostly helps when you're about to buy a house, but it can help those who have already moved into the area as well. Know what months of the year have the most break-ins. Know what times of day it usually happens. Know what part of your city has the most theft. Know the color of car with the most break-ins. Some cities have their own statistics page, but others you might have to do some research. Knowing these statistics can keep people alert of their surroundings. These are just some basics, but I hope you got something from this. Note, being robbed can be very traumatizing. Your house is supposed to be a safe place, and this can really shake some people. I highly suggest getting therapy, whether or not you feel this has affected you mentally or not. Things you may experience could include loss of faith/trust in society, feeling guilty even though you were the victim, living in fear of getting robbed again, lack of trust in friends/family or blaming friends/family for the event, depression, sleeping problems, etc. TLDR, you really should at least skim over this. The biggest thing in my opinion to take from all this is to be aware of what you're posting on Facebook and where you leave your boxes. When you post on Facebook that you just bought a new TV and then tag yourself in another city the next day, you're literally asking people to rob you. Story 48. I'm not a burglar, but here's an idea. Find a particularly hilarious meme of someone noping the F out of somewhere and recreate that scene as realistically as possible near the entrance area of your home. Something really gruesome that blends murder and sex would be best. I'm thinking an extremely realistic looking dead man in a full latex bodysuit with a knife sticking out of his back. Maybe a dead woman as well. Make sure there's fake blood everywhere. Your friends and family will get used to the scene over time, but any burglar who climbs in the window or comes through the front door will nope the F out of there. Alternatively, fake spiders everywhere. Or if you're willing to stop living in the house, real spiders everywhere. Story 49. Not a burglar, but I'm a cop. An alarm is a very good deterrent. I wouldn't waste my money on a monitored system. Just get something with a loud siren that's audible from outside. The alarm sound is enough to scare most burglars off, and by the time the alarm company gets a signal, tries to call the house, tries to call you, then calls the police, at least 5 minutes have usually passed. That's to say nothing of the police, whose response time might be another 5 minutes, if you're very lucky. You're looking at 10 minutes from when the alarm goes off until we show up, and that's on the very low end. No burglar in the world is sticking around for 10 minutes, especially if an alarm is going off. I've never responded to a residential burglar alarm and found a burglar still inside the house. All a monitored alarm system is good for is letting us know that your house has been burglarized a little bit sooner than if you just came home and found your door kicked in. Well, that and creating unnecessary work for me with a bajillion false alarms. TLDR, go to Lowe's and get a cheap alarm system that connects some door and window sensors to a loud siren. Story 50. I used to own a rental property near the U of MN. That place got broken into 1 to 2 times per year. My renters found some bumper stickers that had a picture of a handgun and they said, "Think twice, I don't call the cops." They put them on the garage doors, the front and back gate, and on the doors to the house. There wasn't a single break-in after that. I have a vacation ghost plugin for my home automation system that creates ghosts in the house that randomly turn on and off lights after dark if I'm gone. I also have a security system and a big dog who sits just inside the front door looking out the glass and really makes it known that strangers are not welcome. Outside lights are LED, so I leave them on all night. I have alarm signs up, I have both internal and external sirens. The inside one is so loud it's disorienting, and the outside one is so loud it will wake the neighbors. I also have several cameras that record everything and immediately upload off-site. I was actually going to start a company doing home security and automation, but decided against it because I didn't want to take the risk. Maybe someday. Story 51. A bit late to the party, but figured I'd throw in. I used to break into homes when I was younger, like late 90s when I was more effed up. My goal was to be as unobtrusive as possible. I would dress in Mormon attire and had a backpack with literature in it, and would just walk up to the home at whatever the appropriate time was after casing the place until I felt I knew enough to act without getting caught or running into occupants. No one wants to talk to Mormons. People would look right past me. Got stopped by a cop once. "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't bring my ID since I wasn't driving. If you have some time, I'd love to talk to you about your eternal life, though." A little talk about the kingdom of heaven and I was on my way, lol. 1. Be wary of people that don't belong that are in the neighborhood often. Joggers, strange cars, Mormons. 2. Security systems. If I saw any kind of protected by alarm system sticker, I would skip that house. 3. The number of people that do not lock their doors at all or do not use the deadbolt that is installed on their door is baffling. Actually locking up your house is a great deterrent. 4. Dogs are not a good deterrent, particularly if they're the type that bark a lot in general. So your neighbors hear your dog barking for the 5,000th time. No one's paying attention to that crap. Big dogs weren't even a bother because most of them aren't trained to be defenders. Some kind words, a piece of beef jerky, and some pets, and they'd usually mellow out pretty quick. My intention was never to be in a place longer than a few minutes. I'd go straight to the master bedroom, quick check of drawers, nightstands, and closets. Look up in the closet, stuff on the shelves, look under the stuff, look for an upper lip where people commonly hide crap like lockbox keys, between the mattresses / box spring for handguns. I'm in and I'm after cash and jewelry. Cash, I'd take whatever I could find. Jewelry, I wouldn't just grab the box. I'd usually aim for mid-quality looking items. The upper tier crap that you'd find in jewelry boxes was usually fake. The expensive stuff would usually be locked up or set aside in some way, like in its own containers that it came in or a lockbox. And the final point of interest were handgun containers. The kind that people buy when they only have one handgun or two. That would get dropped in the backpack to be opened later if the key wasn't in one of the easy areas. And then I'd be out, exit the same way I came in, like I was meant to be there and on my way. I'd leave the door how I found it. I doubt a lot of these people even realize that someone had been in their home, which was the idea. Longer it takes them to figure it out and file a police report, the more likely I had their crap sold and out of my possession. It wasn't my thing, but I did used to know people that would target the obvious gun nuts and hunters. Yeah, broadcast your place is protected by S&W or Ruger. A lot of good it does you when no one's there. So stupid. Story 52. One thing to remember is that if you have a wooden door frame, your door frame is the weak point of your door, regardless of how strong your door is or how many locks you have. And your door can be easily kicked open by somebody with only moderate strength. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense either. It would be loud enough to wake you if you're home, obviously, but generally not enough to alert a neighbor. Source: common sense. Plus, I kicked in my own door once. Was locked out of my house on a Sunday night, and the emergency locksmiths wanted $300 plus for a call. Figured I'd just kick my own door in and replace the $50 lock. Whoops, broke the door frame. Landlord charged me less than $200 for the door frame repair, so at least it was cheaper than a locksmith. Even though I lived in an apartment building, nobody called the police either. The sound wasn't enough to alert anybody, and once I shut the door and the door frame didn't appear obviously broken. Story 53. If you have old windows, the kind with the screen on the outside, make sure they're locked before you leave. Obvious, I know, but most don't. Here's what can happen. Surrounding the screen is a rubber seal, which you can easily cut at the corners. All they have to do is cut the rubber at the corner and slightly remove it, keeping the rest of the screen intact per se. Once you've done that, you can open up a corner of the screen showing access to the actual window. If it's unlocked, they will open the window and enter the house. You can now leave from said windows with their loot. Now they will place the screen back and push the rubber seal back into its place, and you wouldn't even know someone was in your house. Source: I grew up in the hood and would always forget my keys coming home from school. Asked some guys and they showed me this trick. Story 54. Not a burglar, represented a number of them over the years. My impression was that collectively, they were an interesting collection of guys with ice water in their veins, while being dumber than a box of rocks. Consequently, the folks who are posting clever solutions, NRA sticker on the door, won't cut it. Real burglars wouldn't make the connection. Besides, they like houses with guns because guns are so easy to sell. Also, study after study has shown that you're more likely to be shot by an intruder, more often than not by your own gun, than you are to successfully shoot the intruder. Plus, there's the attendant problems. Toddlers shooting each other, toddlers shooting their mothers, toddlers shooting the next door neighbors, effing toddlers. Dogs are also not a good deterrent because most of these guys will come prepared for dogs. They also, ice water, remember, come across as absolutely belonging where they are, even if it's the middle of the night in someone's home. It's weird how convincing they can be, and a lot of dogs pick up on that. The exception are yappy dogs, which A, no one pays attention anymore, and B, most sane people would rather be burglarized than have a yappy dog. Side note, these guys will have a story as to why they're there if you confront them. The story will have some element of plausibility to it, enough to make you pause, and it will cause you to ask questions designed to get to the bottom of things. Screw that. Call 911. The police are trained at getting to the bottom of things. Having an adult awake in the house at all times is the best deterrent, but that isn't very practical. Outside of that, have steel doors without windows in them, dead-bolted to sturdy frames, and lock them. Make sure your landscaping doesn't offer any places to hide while they're fiddling with the windows. Some people plant spiky plants, pyracantha, roses, barberry, to make entry uncomfortable or cause so much effort as to draw attention. Windows are a problem. There's lots of solutions, but they tend to be either cumbersome or prohibitively expensive. Security lights aren't bad, especially if they have motion detectors. If someone sets them off, they don't know if they're automatic, or if someone inside just set them off. Never met a burglar that cared much about security systems. The good ones figured out how to disarm them. A lot of rookies were into smash and grab, so they were out the door before anyone awoken by the alarm could do much. Story 55. We used to break in when we were kids. My buddy and I would walk around with a dog leash and knock on doors. If no one answered, we'd walk around back, and if caught, we were looking for our dog that ran back there. I never got caught. He ended up doing 2 years for stealing cars. Locks only keep honest people out. The only thing that kept us out was people being at home. Window ACs were the best way in. Just hang from the thing and push it in. Keep really valuable things in a safe deposit box. Guns in a huge gun safe. Get renters/homeowners insurance with riders for art and electronics. I have a weekend house now. Lights on motion sensors. Besides that, fingers crossed. If anyone broke in, they'd be disappointed, unless they liked kitchen cookware. Story 56. Not a burglar, but here's something I know from experience. I've only been burgled twice. Both times I'm quite certain it was someone working for the place where I bought a new item. Once I got a new TV, media player, and entertainment system delivered by Sears. A week later, burglars broke in and took just those new items. Out of the blue, on a remote rural road. The first such break-in on that road in at least 40 years. Then I moved into town and my daughter had a nice new stereo installed in her car. A week later, that new stereo was stolen from her car parked outside my house. Again, the first and only such theft on our block. So don't give your real address when you have something installed, and call a friend with a truck when you buy appliances. Story 57. This is an interesting topic. I'm no burglar, but I do value home security. First suggestions would be to have your windows laminated. This takes considerably more time to break through. Secondly, using bolt/window locks that aren't able to be shimmed for quick access. Third, reinforce thresholds for your now inshimmable locks. Visual deterrents such as faux, preferably real, exterior cameras will also cause most semi-honest men to think twice, but be wary of blind spots as well as use internal motion sensors and open/close sensors for your windows and doors. If you have to fake the electronics, be sure the wiring appears real. Keep in mind that snap-close style locks such as combination locks or the lower-end master locks that you'd use on your shed can be shimmed open because of the same spring mechanism that allows it to close in the locked position. Combined, all this will make your home relatively secure from your casual thief. Story 58. Big, bad, barking dog has always worked for me. In all seriousness, though, nothing is burglar-proof. You just need to make it less enticing than a neighbor's house. It's akin to the two guys being chased by a bear in the woods. As they climb a tree and rest on a branch, one guy sees his pal doing up his shoelaces. Hey, you know you can't outrun that bear. I don't have to outrun the bear. I just need to outrun you. Basically, if you have a big barking dog, lock your doors, windows, etc. when you go out. Have an alarm, security cameras, etc., and your neighbors leave their windows open, and no anti-theft devices, yet all the same goodies as you, the burglar, is going to take the easy option. Most burglars are opportunistic. Which house can I get into without being seen whilst getting the most good stuff in the easiest way possible? Story 59. Put some of your valuables on show in your window. No, this isn't a joke. That piece of advice came straight from a convicted burglar's mouth, and he didn't say to break into my house because he was still in prison. Anyway, he said that he rarely, if ever, would rob a house where valuable things were obviously on show, because the kind of people who have valuables on show are also the kind of people who don't have any other valuables. He said that people who actually have something worth stealing are the ones who keep it out of sight, especially to avoid people like him noticing it. Also, there was something about a certain type of curtains or something, meaning that they most likely aren't worth robbing, but I don't remember exactly what he said about that. Story 60. Been burgling for the last 5 years without being caught. 1. Lock all doors and windows. When I'm casing up a house, I estimate my maximum time I can be there before the police are likely to turn up. Sometimes a job where I give myself 10 minutes can take 9 minutes to get in without making a noise and 1 or 2 minutes inside before I'm out of there. If you leave a window or door open, I have 10 minutes to look for your valuables, not 2. 2. If you do lock windows and doors, make sure they're all wired up to your main alarm. Sound attracts attention, and attention is the last thing we want. If your alarm works, then I'm not going to stick around for long. 3. Live in a well-lit area. Like I said, I case a joint before I go in, and for this I need to spend 30 minutes to an hour observing everything. Your neighbors and your house, looking for cameras, flaws in your security, and where in the house you might be. A guy sitting in a pitch-black corner of the garden won't get seen like a guy sitting in a bright orange garden will. 4. My main goal is your car. I can walk in some houses and within 2 minutes walk out with a $20K car, which I can sell for parts to a guy I know for $6K. Make sure your keys are in a safe place. Not a drawer in your kitchen, otherwise I'm going to find them. In addition, I hardly ever walk out with TVs for the reason that they're huge. It's usually phones, laptops, and tablets, which I can sell for €100 each. I can probably get about 1K worth of these things on a good night. 5. Don't live routinely. Sometimes I see a car worth $50K that I can sell for $20K and think it might be worth coming back for, mainly because it's a month's worth of work in 8 to 9 hours. If you go out every Saturday to a cafe or to the pub, I'll have clocked you and will know when to look for your keys undisturbed. If you go to work at 7 a.m. every morning, I can within 5 minutes have you on your knees begging me to not kill you whilst you give me your keys. 6. Don't beg. You look pathetic, especially when your wife is going mental at me and really trying to kill me. Be the man of the house. Accept you're getting robbed and you won't get hurt as well as robbed. Story 61. Put anything valuable you own in a bag, box, etc. by the front door so that if you're robbed, it's easy for you to pick up those valuables and go. Leave the doors unlocked so that you will be alarmed by the sound of a doorknob turning. The same goes for windows. The sound of it opening is practically deafening. Breaking glass isn't loud enough. Tie yourself up at night using wrist/ankle restraints in a gag so that if a burglary does occur, they won't hear you and kill you because you won't be making any noise. Leave a cake or pie out at night. Preferably strawberry rhubarb or chocolate cheesecake. If the burglars see this, they might take it as a sign that you're so nice and become so overwhelmed with happiness, they will change their ways. Story 62. Ex-teen B&E kid. I did a lot of them as a 12 to 14-year-old kid. Never got caught, just screw out of it. Steel door frame is the first thing. The little chains and deadbolts are useless in a wooden frame. I could open them with one hard kick, even if it had 2 to 3 deadbolts. Lock the windows when you go out, then make sure they can't be lifted above the latch or somehow opened without breaking them. I would never break glass unless it was a long way to the nearest neighbor. Breaking glass is loud and gets people's attention. Get a small yappy dog that barks at everything and or a big one that looks scary and barks loud. Lighting helps a bit, but it won't if I can ring the bell and boot the door in quick after no one answers. Cameras don't help. Neither do motion detectors that turn on lights. I would quickly figure out you're not home and just avoid. Cover or steal/break your expensive camera, or just wear a throwaway common hoodie. Don't assume you won't be robbed when you are home. I robbed restaurants and homes while I could see the owners were busy outside or cooking, etc. One time where they were partying upstairs, lol. Story 63. Big dog is the most reliable way. If you have signs that say you own guns, people will just break in when you're gone hoping to steal your guns. Big scary dog though? F that. Even if it doesn't bite me, it's going to bark like nuts and people will hear. Also, don't have tons of nice things left right by the window. If someone can look inside and see expensive stuff, it's going to tip them off. Security stickers also. Sounds dumb, but a lot of people don't want to take the chance. If you have an extra car, leave it parked in the driveway. That way it looks like someone is always home. If you have a lot of expensive tools in your garage, put something over the window, if your garage has a window. I've never broken into a house before, but I'm in recovery, and a lot of people I know used to do dumb stuff during their addictions, so you hear things about it. Story 64. I've stolen a few things as a teen. Being white and clean looking helps a lot. We never broke into anyone's house, but we thought about it a few times. Every time, the alarm signs made us not do it. Even a cheap siren alarm without monitoring would be enough for most. A burglar won't stand there and try to guess if the cops are being sent or not. Alarm goes off, most will run. I have Simply Safe. I bought one of their packages and added on extra sensors and outdoor siren. I put a sensor on every door and window that someone could get to without a big ladder. I have a total of 14 doors and windows with sensors, motion detectors just in case they just break a window, and a few panic buttons and remotes. It might be overkill for my area, but it's enough to make most idiots pass the house or run away. I paid just under $400 for all the equipment and pay $25 monthly for the top monitoring and mobile app control. There are cheaper plans, and you can even have the system without monitoring if you think the siren is enough. Story 65. If you're friends with someone who's extremely desperate for money, don't give them information about when people are out of the house. I've seen that stupid crap plenty of times. Just lie about it if you have to. A kid who couldn't keep his mouth closed got 3 gaming systems and all his games stolen. I would say don't leave windows unlocked. But honestly, if you have enough stuff that is of significant value / can easily be pawned, that window will get smashed with no regrets. And for God's sake, don't post pictures of money / drugs / stuff you value on social media, because someone will take it. A kid got too cocky on Instagram and posted a video of him throwing around $5,000, and the next day his door was kicked in and all of his money, his TV, and his PS4 were all gone. Story 66. During the time in my life that the state prevented me from working legally, I had to resort to black market employment. The only successful way to keep me out of your home is the threat of death. A deadbolt is only bolted to a strip of usually rotten wood. I learned to prop doors open very quietly with not much force. Sometimes people would not even wake up. Bars on windows don't work because you can pull them off with a chain and truck. If worse comes to worse, we could ram the wall with a truck or use a sledgehammer to breach the wall. Alarms don't work because we will be in and out before the police come. Cameras don't work because we will wear a mask and stuff our clothes with pillows to make us look fat. Razor wire or glass cemented to the top of a wall won't work because we will lay something over the top and hop over. A dog? Maybe. You will need more than one big dog. I had drug dealer friends have all their dogs killed because a dog cannot return fire. Electric fence probably won't mess with this, but it can be defeated by a determined element. Security guards? More effective, but everyone has their price. You'd be surprised how many security guards are in on it. Death. That's my only way. If I knew a target was too hard, too heavily defended, we would never attempt. You want to stop a determined element from breaking into your home? Just kill them. The sound of a 12 gauge or AK would make me crap my pants. Story 67. As someone who's been burglarized, here's some advice. 1. Get 2-way or double-sided deadbolts for your main level doors. You might have the best slodge on your door, but once you've gotten in through a window, all it takes is a flip of a plunger to open that door and make it that much easier to walk all that booty out and into a vehicle. It's a lot harder to get a big haul when you have to carry everything back out through a window. 2. If you have bushes around your house, under your windows, or low-hanging trees that make it harder to see people from the street, you're making it that much easier for someone to hang out under cover while they play around trying to get inside. This also serves to show that the property is lived in and not vacant, and that you as the occupant are attentive to your property. 3. Lighting. Pro criminals will try to get you during the day, but an easy way to deter your average burglar is keeping things well lit after dark. While motion lights are easier on the electric bill, I personally feel that always on evening lighting, photocell activated, is a better deterrent, as most people get desensitized by the random opossum or raccoon setting off motion lights. If you do motion lights, make sure they're set to stay on for the longest setting. 4. If you're going to keep valuables in your home, be creative with their hiding. First place any decent criminal is going to go for a good score is your bedroom. They're going to check under your bed, flip your mattress, and pull out / dump all your dresser drawers. If they have the time, they'll also rummage your closet and might even check your freezer. So if you're going to keep cash or heirlooms or anything else you consider valuable anywhere other than a good safe, $40 to $50 at Walmart is maybe good for fire, but not much else. Or better yet, a safety deposit box. Pick somewhere that's going to take more than a few seconds to discover. discover. 5. A word about guns. Guns do nothing to prevent a burglary. However, they can potentially stop a robbery and possibly save your life. The most unpredictable criminal, and thus the most dangerous, is the one who's willing to enter your home when you are there. These are either druggies so desperate that they don't care, or someone who wishes to do something to your family. But I bring this up because of the psychological effect of being burglarized is unpleasant, to say the least. It's a violent invasion of your personal space, and it makes you feel uneasy in an environment you formerly associated with safety and comfort. So while they might not do much on the side of burglary prevention, I know that I slept better afterwards with my loaded 870 in reach. Bear in mind that I'm single without children, as most other people in my home would have changed the condition of my weapon. It's also worth mentioning that I barred my bedroom door at night before sleeping, which I recommend to anyone who fears a nighttime intrusion. If they even got through it all, the siege required would have both awakened me and granted me enough time to ready my weapon. Best case scenario is they try the knob with no luck and move on. Frankly, unless you have family in another section of the house that justifies you leaving your room, there's no reason for you to aggress a threat. If you're making any noise, it should be on your phone as you're calling 911. And that includes that BS about the action of your shotgun is the scariest thing to a criminal. You want to be the one hearing, not the one heard. I hope that helps, and I hope that the tips you receive here assist you in preventing such an experience. Story 68. I live in a college town adjacent to some really sketchy areas. The first house I lived in, our neighbor told us was robbed at least once a year. My friend had his house robbed when he was home for winter break. The threat is very real, and I thank my lucky stars it hasn't happened to me yet. I attribute that, though, to a couple really simple preventative measures. 1. Lock your effing doors. Almost all crimes are crimes of opportunity. Don't give them that opportunity. You're probably fine locking your doors only at night and while away, but it helps to have it locked by default just to get into the habit of it. 2. Don't leave items of value in plain sight. You often hear people talk about this to prevent car break-ins, but the same logic applies to a house too. If they can't see anything valuable through the windows they want, they probably don't want to waste the effort. 3. Know the signs of when burglars are in the area. According to our neighbor, a good telltale was bikes being chained to street signs. They would ride to the neighborhood on their bike and not have a friend's place to keep it in. Just take extra care and be on alert for suspicious activity. 4. This is more for mugging prevention, but be alert when walking home at night. Stay on streets with street lamps if you can. Look for potential places someone could be hiding and give them a wide berth. Traveling with a buddy is also a good idea, but it's not always an option, and it's no guarantee a mugger won't try something. This is all that I've ever done to avoid burglary/mugging. Hopefully it helps. Also, one other thing that may be helpful even though I've never done it. Window and door alarms can be pretty cheap, and depending on your university, they may give them out for free. Story 69. Every window and sliding door in my house has a block on it so it won't open. Wood dowel rod, that sort of thing. Windows that slide open sideways can get those metal rail twists to lock things. Don't leave a spare key around the front of the house. Bury it 6 inches in the backyard if you have to. Or better yet, give a spare key to a trusted person in the event you're locked out. Mainly, lock your doors. Lock your car. Your garage door opener hanging off your visor can be used to open up that garage door nice and normal-like. And for the love of God, shut your blinds/curtains. I walk around my neighborhood and I see so many people with their living room curtains open with a clear view of the biggest TV in the world. I don't know if they're bragging about it, but it's a clear sign of we have big expensive stuff. See through our giant display window? Story 70. Only 4 hours old? Okay. I used to rob houses when I was young, and slightly more dumb than I am now. The easiest way we got in was we would case the area and knock on the target house. If someone answered, we'd say we had the wrong house and would ask if some random nobody lived there. No? Oh, okay, thanks. And move on to another neighborhood. Probably the best deterrent would be one of those ADT or whatever signs in plain sight, even if you don't have an alarm system. But if I really wanted to get in, nothing is going to stop me from getting in, grabbing as much crap as I can in a 2-minute window and getting out, short of a neighbor shooting at me. Normal police response time is 3 to 6 minutes if it's a suburban neighborhood. That situation would be a revenge job, though, and much easier to pin on someone. I'm not a house thief anymore because that crap got dangerous real quick. And I also turned 18 in the midst of doing all that, and even at 31, I'm not fit for adult jail. Not enough tattoos. Story 71. A lot of robberies can occur by people who have visited the house before, such as cleaning services, cable repair personnel, gas company, mail carriers, etc. Not to say be untrusting of the hardworking individuals who may visit your home, but just be aware. This happened to my family. Pretty certain it was the cleaners or friends of. My mom used the same lady for a while, so she had a good idea of where the valuables were. When she came home, our dog was in the backyard and she thought she accidentally left him outside. Then she realized the window in the backyard was pried open with a crowbar. Nothing was trashed or moved. Just all my mother's jewelry and the cash my parents had hidden was stolen. The robber knew exactly where to go. Pretty sad because they took some jewelry with sentimental value, such as my dad's college class ring. My parents are immigrants, so that was the first real traditional American symbol my dad owned. I'm glad I got to see it for the first time, literally a month before it was stolen, so at least I have a picture of him with it on. Irony is, my parents used to have an alarm system, then canceled it after not using it much. Now they have a more high-tech one, which they can control with their phone, and they never leave the house without activating it. Whenever I come visit home, they always remind me to turn it on before I leave. So the most upsetting thing about it all is the paranoia my mother feels after her home was invaded. We have a small dog who I love so much, and I'm so happy they didn't hurt or kill him. The little guy did take a crap in the house before they put him outside, so he literally was scared crapless. He was the most valuable treasure in our home that day, and I'm just thankful those effers didn't hurt him. Story 72. I recently took some steps to secure my home. I have a monitored alarm system first and foremost. It only costs $20 a month to have in monitored 24/7. I installed a camera system. I did it myself over the course of 2 weekends, and I now have full motion sensing, night vision cameras at all access points to the house/garage, as well as the side and back of the house. Any motion detected instantly notifies me on my phone/tablet. It only cost a few $100s. Lastly, I bought a motion sensing doorbell. If someone approaches my house, I get an instant video feed to my phone. I can talk to them through my phone and have high-res images and video of their face. My wife and I are also concealed handgun carriers if all else fails when one of us is home. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, and a recent home invasion, which resulted in 2 occupants' deaths, near our house at 10 a.m. in the morning made us get a little more serious about our home security. Plus, our homeowner's insurance dropped significantly when I presented all the upgrades we did. Story 73. I know a guy. He gave me the following info. Serious. 99% of burglars are looking for the quickest, easiest score, whether it's junkie looking for something to pawn or a career burglar. They want to get in and out quickly with no witness. This fact pretty much drives the list below. Just like when you're going camping, you don't have to outrun the bear, you only have to outrun your friend. Your friend is your neighbor's house, the bear is the burglar. Outrunning is making your home a less appealing target than his. The metaphor is to give you a common denominator to compare the situation to another, more obvious situation. The parentheses are to explain it to dumb people. 1. Lights on. If someone is home or appears to be home, they're moving on. On vacation, light/TV/radio timers work well. 2. Most burglaries are going to happen between dusk and midnight. Burglar has obvious signs of people being home. Lights. Before dusk, people home plus no lights. After midnight, people home plus no lights. Make sure your home appears occupied during these hours. 3. Make sure windows and doors are not obscured. Even the best locked window is still just a pane or two of glass. Glass. Give someone a quiet, sheltered place to work and they will defeat your lock, or just bust the window. Sure, everyone looks out their front window when they hear the glass break, but if they don't see you standing in the front lawn with a busted picture window, no one's going to call the cops because they heard breaking glass. 4. Many burglars will test a home before breaking in. Ring a doorbell and ask for someone who doesn't live there. Oops, sorry, wrong address. No answer? Probably no one home. This one is harder to protect against, but an indoor dog works well. 5. Dog. In the yard or in the house. Toy breeds are useless, but even a Labrador is enough for someone to not bother with the risk and move along. 6. Cars in the driveway. If you don't need to put your car in the garage, then leave it in the driveway. It's not a slam dunk that they'll skip your house and move along, but one more thing to make them keep walking and do your neighbor's place instead. 7. Alarm company signs/stickers. Why bother if there's a chance of an air raid siren going off the minute they step inside? Most people take very little in the way of effective precautions, so the average burglar has a wide selection of soft targets. Take a few cheap and effective steps, and your odds of being being hit drop pretty dramatically. Most people also overestimate burglars. They're not wearing balaclavas and cleaning out your house with rented trucks, or rappelling down through skylights. They generally don't give a rat's ass about big screen TVs either. They're going to the top drawer in your dresser, your jewelry box, top shelf in your closet, and the liquor cabinet. They're probably leaving your place on foot with a duffel bag. Carrying your 60-inch plasma down the street is a little obvious. Cars give witnesses and police all kinds of ways to identify / track / stop you. Stolen cars even double. Not that it doesn't happen. No one said these guys were smart. I do agree with the last point here. I think that Hollywood and the movies have kind of romanticized this idea of what a burglary or a heist is really like, like he said, rappelling in from the ceiling and, throwing smoke grenades and the face mask and all that other kind of stuff. When in actuality, it's, get in, grab a few things in 2 minutes and then leave on foot with a duffel bag. So yeah, I do think that a lot of real life burglars are overcredited with what they're capable of. Not that they can't do that, but most of them are not, pulling Mission Impossible heists. Story 74. I stopped all the breaking in and whatnot a long while ago, but nobody pointed out that if someone knows what they're doing and they want to break into your house, short of an alarm, nothing is going to stop them. The everyday fiend who will go in through windows with a gun trying to make a couple $100 really isn't who you should worry about. No matter what you do, they're desperate enough to come in unless they see someone physically themselves, which that doesn't even help all the time. I know people who broke into people's houses knowing they were home, but in the shower or whatever. Your best defense would be a home security system or getting to know your neighbors. Also, you could just live extremely poor and let it be known you ain't got none. Short of that, though, if you're known to have valuables or weapons and end up getting yourself targeted, unless the burglar is a complete dumbass, chances are your house will be robbed. I have a friend who even robbed a sheriff's house that lives in his neighborhood. He ended up getting caught, so they know it was him that broke in. But he was caught almost a month later, and that's another story. Story 75. I'm not a burglar, but I did do this 2 days ago when I was moving. We had 2 huge flat screen TVs and 2 or 3 smaller flat screen TVs left in the house for the last trip because they wouldn't fit with other things in the car. When we left for the last time at night, while we were loading up the car, my mom and I talked like I was staying the night at the house and she was going to the new place. When we went back inside for the last trip, we went downstairs and she let me out of the back gate and shut it and locked it behind me, and then she left by herself. I walked up behind the row of houses down to another street for her to meet me way out of sight from the house. We left a few lights on and I left my radio on in my room, so if someone listened, they'd hear talking and stuff. We made it out without any break-ins. Nobody was watching probably, but I felt like a badass spy sneaking around in the dark behind the houses, so I pretend we fooled our potential burglars. Story 76. Someone tried to break into our house once. He jumped the fence into our backyard and was promptly pinned to the wall by our dog. My mother, hearing the barking, ran outside with a baseball bat, half naked, waist down. Upon seeing the burglar, she ran back inside to call the police, where the dog followed her. The burglar jumped the fence again, never to be seen again. He's never been trained as a guard dog, but we do encourage him to get vicious at the door if there's someone we want to encourage to leave. He was at the time a 4-year-old German Shepherd Lab mix. The laziest dog you've ever seen until a stranger shows up at the house. Then it's Cujo. 1 month later, our next door neighbor was broken into. They took everything. Story 77. I'm a little late here, but this is my story. My girlfriend and I live together. Low-income neighborhood, not necessarily dangerous, but low income for sure. Drugs and specifically heroin are a problem. We went out to dinner. We were gone for maybe 2 hours. They broke through the window in the back door after clearly trying to pry the door open to no avail. Took a TV and a laptop, but the worst was a jewelry box full of jewelry that my girlfriend's family, late relatives, had given to her. Most of it wasn't even worth any money, but it broke her heart to lose them, some of which were irreplaceable. To me, the worst part is the feeling that your home and your security have been violated. It takes a while to get over the perpetual uneasiness that comes late at night. There were plenty of things they could have tried to come back for. Afterward, we installed motion-activated floodlights by the back door. After the incident, we realized at night the backyard is pitch black and very easy to sneak around in unnoticed. The lights are extremely bright and unavoidable. As someone previously mentioned, the biggest danger to a burglar is the neighbors calling the cops. Both my girlfriend and I and the responding police officers are confident that had these lights been there in the first place, this never would have happened. The concealing darkness of the backyard is what gave the burglars the confidence to attempt forced entry in the first place. We also have a home security system now as well. Story 78. Not a burglar, but I live in a really bad city in the worst part of town. Having a dog helps tremendously. I have a rescued pit bull terrier that is as sweet as can be and loves everyone, but she knows the difference between friends and family, and even kind strangers from bad people. There have been a few break-in attempts at my house, but as soon as they heard my girl's roaring bark, they ran. Not only does a dog mean possibly being bit and mauled to death, but also means the dog will wake sleeping owners who will call the cops. Burglars won't stick around and risk getting caught in most cases. Also, if the dog barking didn't deter them, which has happened but rarely, I own a taser, and standing by the window or door the person was at, I'd zap the taser just in the air. The sound is loud enough that they can hear it and know what it is, and will usually run knowing that someone is standing by ready to fry them. And a well-trained dog does not bark at night unless someone is actually too close to the house. So if she barks at night, I get up and check it out every time. Story 79. Here's a tip for y'all. You have 700 plus friends on Facebook, but you obviously don't know 700 people in real life, let alone 100. Stop posting Facebook statuses about you going away on vacation, because one more of those 700 friends on your Facebook are looking out for those kind of statuses, and a quick look through your post history will show an older status where you posted a location status. Well, at home, if they don't already know where you live, they do now, and they also know you're in the Dominican for the next 2 weeks. Sweet, thanks sucker. Might as well leave the front door open too. This happens so often that I wouldn't even be surprised to hear how a guy shows up to rob a house and there's already someone else that beat him to it, and while he's standing there going WTF, another guy shows up in a ski mask going, oh man, I'm late again. It's all good though, because you also tag those close friends who went with you on vacation. Also time to hit up their house instead. Peace. Story 80. Safety windows. Like, seriously. The German police offer a workshop for citizens on how to protect their houses, and they actually show how ridiculously easy it is to pry open regular windows. If the window hooks into the frame, or by one or two additional connectors, it becomes incredibly difficult to open. Depending on how sturdy your house is, it might also be interesting to see if the window frame is connected to the wall by more than glue and your unwavering optimism. So as we wrap up here, got a ton of advice, a lot of conflicting advice. Should you get a dog? Should you not get a dog? Do deadbolts actually work? Should you park your car in the garage or should you park it in the driveway? And we've had actual real-life burglars weigh in and give their opinions on the matter. The fact of the matter is that there is no foolproof way, it seems, to keep people out. As many of them said, if they want to get in bad enough, they will find a way to get in. So just use some common sense. Lock your doors, lock your windows. You don't have to run barbed wire around the perimeter of your house and upside down nails and lay booby traps and have 2 or 3 pit bulls set to go off. Ultimately, just be smart, be safe, and understand that there's some things that happen that are just outside of your control. Your house may get broken into despite all those things, but ultimately the goal is for you and your family and, say, your dog to come out of an attempted burglary safe. And those possessions that you may have had stolen, they're just material things, right? So just stay safe, be smart.